Hey guys, Ken here from the Retro Toy Escapades channel in Malaysia. So January 25th is finally here, the day that MOTU fans all over the world have been waiting for the arrival of MOTU Revolution, the long-awaited, something like 2 years in the waiting, all right, sequel to Revelation. And I have to tell you that I was just pretty much just waiting for this thing to drop. It was supposed to turn up today, but nobody knew exactly when. Here in Malaysia, it turned up finally sometime after 5 p.m., I think. So, what I'm going to be doing here is a series of podcast styled reviews on each of the episodes, just discussion videos talking about the highlights of each episode. There's 5 in total, and this is going to be covering episode 1, which is titled Even for Kings. All right, and this is going to be spoiler filled. Okay, I assume that if you're tuning in, that you've already watched the episode, probably watched the whole thing in its entirety, and you just want to get in on the discussion. Guys, welcome. Just by the title alone, Even for Kings, you know that they're talking about the scene that we saw in the trailer where Randor is just dead. Okay, this is the episode where Randor dies. Okay, they actually do deliver on what they suggested in the trailer. It does happen here, a major character death, and I have to say that they handled that whole thing, the whole sequence of his demise, the way that he was actually interacting with the characters, his conversations with his family, the conversations with Adam. I think that everything was handled really well. The dialogue was good. All right, the conversation dialogue was good. And I think that if you're familiar with Kevin Smith's work, because he wrote this episode, and if you know his stuff from the comics in particular, all right, because he's been writing comics too for like 25 years. He did movies, then he got into comics as well. And the comic book stuff is where I think that he really shined. And when you look at stuff like Green Arrow and the Batman books that he wrote, there's a lot of very honest, sincere, really engaging dialogue that happens between the characters that, seems very real, doesn't seem forced. And I think that it really shows in this particular episode as well, especially in key sequences like this where, Randor is dying and, he's talking to his son and talking about the responsibilities that Adam has to hold in his place, because Adam will be receiving the crown. Adam will be crowned the new king of Eternia. So I felt that that whole sequence was actually handled very well, respectfully, and I think that fans would be happy. It was a major character death for sure, but I think that fans would be happy at how they actually played it out, how it was executed. But that isn't how the whole episode actually begins. The episode starts with a huge blockbuster level, fantasy drenched action sequence that involves, first of all, we have Adam and Orko. They are seen infiltrating Subternia, Skaglow's realm, in order to try to bargain for the release of the souls of two of their friends, Clamchamp and Fisto. Okay, you forgot about those guys, but apparently they were vanquished. If you recall, at the end of the final battle in Revelation, Skeletor sent their souls there. So now we have Adam and Orko trying to seek an audience with Skaglow to try to negotiate for him to release these two good buddies of theirs. But, Skaglow just looks at the whole situation and he's just like, hell no, right? He's not letting go of them. So Adam has got no choice, okay, to unleash the power of Grayskull. The scene where he transforms into He-Man for the first time. I was just wondering to myself, Skaglow must have known. He did know that Adam was He-Man. So the likelihood of him being defeated again, just like what happened in the events of Revelation, that's probably going to happen again. But maybe he thought that he had this entire kingdom of the undead. Okay, there's no way that these two guys can take them all on. But then He-Man announces that he's got a couple of his friends that he brought along as well. And then it's like the roof just caves in. We have Buzz-Off, we've got Snout Spout, and we've got Rio Blast, okay, all just dropping in. All right, they just turn up on the scene there. It is pretty exciting to see them all in animation form for the first time here. But most of the joy gets sucked out, I think, because these guys are all paired with some of the cringiest dialogue that you've ever heard. I gotta tell you honestly, okay, I've just said that Kevin Smith writes pretty good dialogue, but it isn't always consistent, okay, because the dialogue on these three guys is just freaking awful, right? It's like Buzz-Off is coming in and he's saying something like, anybody else feeling buzzed? And then, there's Snout Spout and he's just like, he says something like, I feel like a big sneeze coming on, and he just unleashes this water blast, okay, from his trunk. Or, is it water or is it snot? I'm not really sure. But I think the dumbest line of them all, okay, belongs to Rio Blast, okay, because Rio Blast turns up there. He just goes, and he says something that I had to just check it for a bit there, and I just checking the subtitles to make sure that I heard it correctly because he said that even cowboys get the pews. And then he just goes, pew, pew, pew. And I was thinking to myself that, look, what in the hell does pews mean, okay? As in cowboys get the pews, okay? Is that even a word? But he does manage to sneak in a yeehaw. I mean, that whole thing was the height of ridiculousness, okay? I mean, granted, these characters are, pretty much over the top, like super over the top, and they are expected to perhaps, behave a little bit dumb sometimes. But I just felt that, the dialogue there was just honestly really lame. Okay, like the worst in the entire episode. We did see some new mech and tech on display. Like there was this huge flying craft that all the Eternian guards were in. It looked like a cross between something like an owl and an eagle. It wasn't terribly impressive looking, but it was something that I would say belongs in the world of MOTU by the design alone. And there was this mech armor that Randor got into to use for combat. It seemed very generic in design, but I suppose it suited its purpose. And there's this battle scene with He-Man and Skaglo. Skaglo just morphs into this gigantic spider Skaglo. Okay, it's like half of him, the lower half of him becomes like a spider. It kind of reminded me of this McFarlane Spawn toy from the 90s. Okay, see if you guys can figure out which one. Drop me a comment below. And yeah, all that stuff was pretty great. Okay, the opening sequence, the action scene was really satisfying. And then we get glimpses of Hordak, his troops, okay, the cult of Triclops that's still around there with Motherboard carrying out his missions. And we also get the Cyborg Skeletor. Okay, we get to see him for the first time. Cyborg Skeletor is like this Robocop version of Skeletor. It's like half machine, half flesh. And I just hated that design, honestly, because we saw the action figure for it out in Masterverse, and it just felt like the one Skeletor figure that I never felt like wanting to own. But we're going to see more of these characters as the story develops, no doubt. There's a side quest there with the sorceress Tila. Okay, Tila's now the new sorceress, and she's trying to figure out a way to rebuild Britannia, okay, which is like, Britannia's like the heaven of Eternia, okay, where all the fallen heroes go to when they pass on. But if you remember, that whole place was just obliterated in Revelation, okay, because Evelyn just, smoked it, okay, destroyed it completely. And apparently, that place, okay, needs to be rebuilt somehow. And Tila's finding out a way to do it because Randor is dying, and he needs to go someplace after he's passed on. So she's trying to rebuild back the heaven of Eternia. It seems that in Eternia we still have a hell, okay, where Skaglo reigns, but there's no heaven. So she doesn't know how to do it though, and she goes to see her mom, the sorceress, the original sorceress, and she puts Tila on this path, okay, to go to this place called Dark Smoke, all right, which is immediately alluded to as a place worse than Subternia, right? Just worse than that, right? The minute I heard the word dark smoke, I just thought to myself, wow, it's like she got sent to the Lord of the Rings, okay? It's like someplace definitely from there, right? So can't wait to see how that turns out, okay, what the place looks like in animation. And cut back to the finale of the episode, right? At the ending, we get, Randor's funeral and Adam's giving a speech. And yeah, the dialogue's all pretty good here. Everybody's there, of course. Rio Blast is there too, but he doesn't get to say anything dumb. And at this point, we get the big spoiler reveal. Okay, the big twist ending to episode 1, because somebody turns up to challenge Adam. Okay, for the throne of Eternia, and the person is revealed to be Keldor. All right. And it's a bit of a surprise there because, well, in the first place, we already knew this character was coming up because it was a leak on the new wave of Masterverse figures. And we're just wondering to ourselves, where is this Keldor actually from? Okay, because Keldor is supposed to be, per MOTU 2002, is supposed to be the original form of Skeletor when he was human, all right, or blue human or something like that. But who is this Keldor supposed to be? Is he a version of him from another multiverse? Okay, so I guess we're going to find out in episode 2. But whoever this guy is, he must be pretty important because they've already gone to the trouble of turning him into an action figure, okay, like a toy for you to play with. So he gets a toy before, guys like Real Blast. Okay, Real Blast hasn't even turned up either in Origins or Masterverse yet. Okay, so this guy must be a pretty big thing. Let's find out what it's all about. That's my thoughts on episode 1. Drop your comments below. I want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think about this episode? Hit me up and I'll catch you guys again real soon. Thank you. Take care out there.